And as I stepped into the oneness, I noticed that my consciousness, that part of me went into everything. It's really hard to describe, but my conscious awareness became every blade of grass, every grain of sand, every star in the sky, the top of every mountain and the bottom of every ocean floor. I became a part of all of it. It's almost like my consciousness became one, synchronized into all of it. So I could look at the blade of grass and have that experience as if I was that blade of grass. I could look at the clouds in the sky as if I was that cloud, that intelligence. I could think about the trees outside of my physical body because I wasn't in my body. I could take my awareness, my consciousness, and go into the tree and become the tree. And I knew that I had that ability with all of creation, that I had the ability of sharing consciousness to the greatest, the deepest understanding level with every human, every plant, every animal, every molecule, everything that has intelligence, I could relate with through my own consciousness. So for me, that was stepping into the oneness. And then
I'm Lori Micah. If you like stories that open your heart and expand your soul, hit subscribe. This channel is waking up the collective. My guest today is Janet Felt, who had a near-death experience. And oftentimes when somebody has a near-death experiences, their abilities are opened up, their senses are opened up, and they begin to perceive things in a very different way. She had an incredible experience with her deceased mother that you're not going to want to miss. So Janet, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
That was a great introduction. I loved that you said that her sensitivities and her spiritual abilities opened up. That's exactly what happened for me. And I think that's probably why our souls are drawn to having experiences like this, is because it does open us up.
Over and over again, almost without exception, everybody that I talked to who has had a near-death experience had something that's different. Sometimes it's as simple as they affect electronics, like you with your computer issues today, or they can never wear a watch again because the watches go haywire on them. But so many of the near-death experiencers wind up having mediumistic abilities where they're hearing spirit, they're hearing their guidance, they're connecting to passed away loved ones, theirs or others. So it's definitely very common.
Yeah. And so like you, I work with people too, one-on-one. I have a practice where I do healing, the healing arts. And I have people say to me too, a lot of the people that come to me are people who follow channels like yours, who want to hear near-death experience after near-death experience. They just can't get enough. And I'm finding too, I don't know if you're finding this too, but those people are being cracked open by just hearing someone else's experience. It's waking them up and opening them up too.
And I think we talked about this before, but we both are of the belief that part of the game in coming here is to actually wake up and remember who you are. Remember that we're love. Remember that we are just one single entity having this experience. We're so interconnected.
Yes. And the other thing too that I always tell people is, because a lot of people say to me, oh, I've never had that experience. I haven't died or left my body. And I guess my answer to that is you don't have to. You don't have to die to be opened up spiritually. You can listen to stories like this, and sometimes just that will help to open you up to a remembrance of where you came from and who you are and what it's about for you to be here.
And for those of you who are watching who are already awake, because I know it's a lot of people on my channel like that, and these conversations like this keep your vibration higher. That's why I used to consume hundreds of near-death experience videos, because it always would help me keep my vibration in a place that I could be more productive with.
I agree. Yeah.
So we are going to start with your near-death experience. I know that a big reason that people like to listen to near-death experiences is because they've experienced some kind of a loss in their own lives. So I know that there are people who are watching who are absolutely going to really want to hear about your experience with your mother, because that was very, very touching when I heard about what happened to you. But we're going to save that for after we talk about the near-death experience. So Why don't you share your near-death experience in any way that you would like to share it?
Okay. I had been battling autoimmune illnesses for 25 years. So I started with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. I'd go to the doctors, they'd scratch their heads, had all these mysteries going on inside my body and didn't feel good at all. And at the time, I was running a full-time cleaning company. I was trying to raise 6 children. I was in the busiest time of my life. And so my adrenal glands were shot. And I started to pull out of so I sold my cleaning company, I put the kids back in school after homeschooling, and after I had my 6th baby, I just wanted to rest. And that's exactly what so my body went into deep rest, and I started having these little episodes where I'd fade in and out. So I'd go take a nap and I have a hard time waking up. Like my body felt so heavy, I'd have a very hard time getting back into my body after being in a state of deep sleep for a while. So I noticed that. That was one of the first things that happened. And then I wanted, I'd sold my company. I was less busy. My kids were in school and I was just home with my newborn. And I thought, I'm gonna really take care of my body now. I want to get in shape. I want to eat better. I want to do all the things. And so I started walking and I felt good. And I started running and I felt good. And about a month into that practice, I collapsed on the side of the road about 2 miles away from, I'm out in rural Idaho on farm roads, no cell phone, there's nobody around. And I collapsed on the side of the road and my limbs went completely stiff as a board. And it took me several hours to get my wits about me again to barely crawl home. And once I got home, I was in bed for months. Because I didn't know this then, but I was having these episodes of adrenal failure, and that was causing me to pop out of the body. So in that 2 or 3 months while I was in bed, I would have these times where I would fade in and out and in and out of the body. And I was having multiples of that, like hundreds of them. And times where I could look down at my body from up above and kind of observe from a completely different vantage point. Anyway, long story short, that continued to happen for a while until I was able to get myself into a place of feeling better again. Once I felt better again, I did slowly introduce some just moderate exercising. And I was working out with a group of other women at a park. And mind you, this is after 25 years of autoimmune illness. So I had a lot of anxiety. I was dealing with a lot of depression and body fatigue and bone pain, all of those things, and really frustrating. But I was now starting to kind of climb out of that. What I didn't understand, what I didn't realize was that my adrenal glands were really not well. I really shouldn't have been introducing exercise at that time, but I didn't know. Anyways, I was doing moderate exercises. So I personally was just kind of off to the side on the monkey bars doing calf raises, up downs, and just kind of working out my calves while they were doing some high intensity stuff. I knew I couldn't do that, but even just doing the calf raises, I started feeling very dizzy, very nauseated, very like coming out of my body. And so I stopped. I had the presence of mind to stop. And you know how just before you faint or pass out, kind of the whole world goes grainy and granularly and pixelated and it's just all white dots? That started happening to me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to faint. I need to sit down. So I sat down in the grass and then I started to notice, okay, I'm in trouble here because things started shutting down. I felt my my hands were going numb, my body, my limbs started stiffening up like they did a year before that when I was running, and I thought, "Uh-oh, I'm in some serious trouble." I didn't have enough voice to call out to anybody. I just was really struggling, and I I was dizzy, but I was losing the senses of my body, if that makes any sense. Like I could feel all of my extremities shutting down to conserve and preserve the vital organs in my body. And the my vision went, so everything went dark. I kind of laid down in the grass. I was still very aware of everything. I could hear all the sounds. I was very aware of what was happening. So I didn't faint because I still had consciousness about me. But I was a little bit scared because I could feel that like even my ability to breathe was shutting down. I couldn't get air and I was gasping for air. I thought to myself, I'm going to die here. My body is shutting down. I can't see, I can't speak. I don't even have the energy to get up or call for anybody. And the last thing to shut down was my ability to breathe. And for just a split second, maybe a couple seconds, I was really riddled with some very real fear at the moment because I thought, I don't want to die here. It's so anticlimactic. There's I'm in a playground sitting in the grass. Nobody even is noticing that I'm struggling. And but I thought I am going to die here. And then that fear flipped over into peace. So all of a sudden I went from I'm panicking to try to get air into my lungs. I'm trying to keep myself alive to now I'm not worried about any of that at all. It was just total and complete peace and movement. I could feel myself moving. I could still hear everything that was going on around me. I could still hear the music and the women working out. And then it was at that point that women started noticing that I was not moving. And so they came over and started to, some people were slapping me. Some people were yelling. Some women were crying. Some were on their phones, calling them. Like I could perceive all of it. So it's not like I fainted. I didn't pass out because I was still very aware of everything that was going on, but I was also aware from a completely different vantage point. Like I wasn't worried about my body at all at that point because I was in this state of absolute peace and um, freedom. And anyway, so women were crying and calling to me, and some people were slapping my face to try to get me to wake up. And um, I was just in a place of absolute, utter bliss. And one of the things that I noticed that when I popped out of the body for just a short period of time, I could see what they were going through. And I remember thinking, why? Like, I remember questioning their response because, like I said, women were crying, other people were panicking, they were calling 911. I heard ambulances. Everybody was freaking out except for me. And I thought to myself, why are they acting like that? It didn't make any sense because I was not being threatened by anything. I was in this wonderful, beautiful place, very much aware of them and aware of everything. And then I realized I am not in my body currently. And then I could kind of see it from a different vantage point. Um, I didn't come all the way out of my body, so I didn't go to heaven and talk to angels. At that time, I didn't go to heaven or talk to anybody. I didn't have that kind of an in-depth going into the other realm experience. But I just popped out long enough to get some perspective. And the perspective that I got was, wow, I looked back at my physical body, and isn't it a weird experience to see your physical body that you know of as home? You recognize it because you've seen yourself in the mirror, but it just seemed foreign to me. And it seemed like I remember asking the question, wow, I thought that was me. That's weird. I recognize it, my physical body, but it just seemed like it was an inanimate clump of earth and water. Right? And not animated at all. So I thought to myself, well, then if I'm not animating that body right now, and that body is not me, but yet I'm still very much aware of my surroundings. I'm aware of what's going on. In fact, I'm hyper aware. I'm more aware. I'm more mobile. I'm more conscious. I'm more of myself. Then who am I? And it was in the very moment that I asked the question, who am I? That I always tell people, I stepped into the oneness. And anyone who's ever had a near-death experience or out-of-body experience, hyper-spiritual experience, they know what that means. to step into the oneness. And so for me, what it felt like was and it only happened in a very short period of time. But it felt like a lot longer. And as I stepped into the oneness, I noticed that my consciousness, because I had asked, who am I then? If I'm not that bag of earth and water, who am I? Who's this? What is this? That part of me went into everything. It's really hard to describe. But in other words, my conscious awareness became every blade of grass, every grain of sand, every star in the sky, the top of every mountain and the bottom of every ocean floor. I became a part of all of it I don't know how else to explain it, but it's almost like my consciousness became synchronized into all of it. So I could look at the blade of grass and have that experience as if I was that blade of grass. I could look at the clouds in the sky as if I was that cloud, that intelligence. I could think about the trees outside of my physical body because I wasn't in my body. So I could take my awareness, my consciousness, and go into the tree and become the tree. And I knew that I had that ability with all of creation, that I had the ability of sharing consciousness to the greatest, the deepest understanding level with every human, every plant, every animal, every molecule, everything that has intelligence, I could relate with through my own consciousness. And so for me, that was stepping into the oneness. And then, of course, I had that little epiphany, and then it began to get dark again for me. And how do I describe this? I saw the feeling in my mind's eye. I saw the feeling of someone putting their hand up saying, nope, that's as far as you need to go. So I wanted to keep going. The level of peace was so unbelievably unmatched. I've never felt that much peace, that much love, that much harmony, unity, oneness. I've never felt anything like that before. And because I was so riddled with a body that was full of pain for so many years, it was amazing to be away from that pain and completely aware of who I am on a spirit level, which is love and peace and unity and oneness. And it was the most euphoric, blissful feeling. I wanted more. I wanted to keep going, but I had the impression or the prompting that there was somebody standing there at that corridor. I feel like I kind of just hovered in the threshold between these two dimensions. That's what I feel like happened. Just enough to get understanding and awareness and experience. And then I could hear the women saying, "Come on, Janet, you got to breathe." And then I heard the paramedics coming, and they were trying to revive my body. My lips were blue. They couldn't get a pulse. People were afraid. And then I heard, it's time. So I did. I made the choice to go back into my physical body. I didn't want to because I knew that was going to result in a lot of pain and a lot of recovery. But I knew that that was what I was being asked to do. So I did go back into my body. And just like before, I did, after that experience, I spent months in bed, just this far above comatose, trying to recover from that experience. It's a lot of work to come back into a body that's already broken down and fatigued. And so when you completely come out and pop out and then have to get back in, it's not fun. But I was still in a blissful, euphoric state. So when I came back into the body, everyone was asking me, "Oh my gosh, that's so scary. Weren't you afraid?" For a tiny fraction of a second, I was afraid. I was afraid that I was going to die, and I actually did. But it was the most peaceful, easy, smooth, beautiful, wonderful, effortless experience that I've ever been through in my life. I told my kids this even when I got home, was I will never, ever fear the process of death again. Never, ever. It was so easy, so beautiful, so smooth, so loving, so gentle, so nurturing. I felt cradled. Um, anyway, so I told my son that I will never fear the process of death again. And he says, yeah, it's what happens before you die that you got to worry about.
No, but you didn't even feel that because as your body
No,
was shutting down, you never even felt that you were out.
you're
Over and
right.
over again, people
You're
are out.
right. And I believe that that is a common denominator for many people, that in those moments before death, that fear is just a blip and it flips over into peace. Even though the body might not look like it's in a peaceful state, that spirit likely is.
I love that. You have just given people a ticket to freedom.
Yes. Yes. Because don't we fear death?
Yes,
Don't
number
we?
one fear on the planet.
It's the number one fear on the planet. And it's not even substantiated. It's not real. That fear is not real. So yeah,
Yes.
I will never fear the process of death again. It was really one of the most, even today, even to this moment, it was one of the most beautiful experience I think I have ever been through. And I didn't cross over and go talk to people. I just gained perspective that I didn't have before.
Which is, I think,
Perspective.
equally as powerful. I
Hmm.
really do.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because I asked the question, who am I then? If I'm not that body, because, when you look in the mirror, we get accustomed to thinking that, oh, this is me. I'm my hair, I'm my makeup, I'm my physical body, that this is me. I have to control this. I've got to lose weight. I've got to da 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 da, all these things. But what that gave me, this out of body experience, what it gave me was the ability to, when I look in the mirror now, I look past the body. I get to look beyond just the mortal physical cells and dirt and water, and I can look at my soul and my spirit, my spiritual
Tell me
self.
how you do that. So, is there a practice you have when you look in the mirror that you kind of have used to see past the physical
Mhm.
body?
Mhm. Absolutely, there is. And this is something interesting too. I don't know if I shared this on my other interviews. Like shortly after that happened, both my husband and I were like, "We've got to get help. Like, you cannot stay sick like this. We cannot go through this one more time." And so I did. I hired a quantum healing practitioner. His name was Joshua Bloom, and he taught me a process that I very quickly realized, wow, that's the exact same feeling that I had when I popped out of my body and I went into oneness. And so he taught me the process of taking my awareness and my consciousness and going deep into the body to access that same exact feeling. And it was exact for me. So I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I don't have to leave my body to have this connection with my higher self. And so I can walk your viewers through that if you'd like to. We don't have to do it right now, but um, that process of having him teach me how to connect with my inner higher self by going within and dropping down and connecting at the base of the spine was such an epiphany for me. I was like, this is it. I can teach this to people. I can teach them you don't have to die to have this connection. You don't have to leave your body. If anything, it's more powerful. At least I've found for me, it's more powerful to go within and connect to those, I call them portals or anchor points or access points to your higher self. You're in there. And so when you take your awareness and your consciousness and you go inside purposefully, you will connect with your higher being.
I can
And
almost hear people in the audience right now going,
yeah,
yes, yes,
take us
walk us
through it.
through that. And I do want to do
Yes.
that. And I
Yeah.
promise we will get to it before the end of the interview. But I want to stay right here on some questions I have around this near-death experience
Yeah.
because this was you said it wasn't a super extraordinary, but I feel like it was for a lot of reasons. So we just shared that you have this different way of seeing yourself. And what I find so fascinating is that if you, people watching, everybody, think about it, you have never, ever, ever truly seen yourself. You have only seen yourself in a reflection, in water,
Yeah.
in a mirror, in a photograph. in a movie, you have never seen yourself. And I remember watching this Instagram post not very long ago about a woman who was talking about how she would look in the mirror and she would feel like she wasn't very pretty.
Mhm.
And she realized she is only seeing the limited part of herself because she's standing in front of the mirror making certain faces. You know, you put on your makeup, you're
Mhm.
smiling, you know, the things that you
Yeah.
do when you
Yeah.
pose for a photo. And really, we were never meant to see ourselves that way. We are an experience. We're
Exactly.
an experience.
We are an experience. We are an activity. The body is just an activity that's going on, but that's not who you are. And so if you can't look at your higher self when you look in the mirror, then you should stop looking in the mirror. Because if you're going to just look in the mirror and say, "Oh, I hate my thighs. I hate my stomach. I hate my wrinkles. I hate my," your physical body is an interface with this dimension, but it isn't the sum total of you. It comes with you, right? It stays with you. It allows you to have experience in this mortal dimension. But it isn't who you actually are.
And it's not who others experience you as either, because
No.
being an experience means that they're seeing you in all of these different angles that you can't see.
Yeah.
And they see you in motion, not standing there making certain faces. And so, whatever you're seeing, your wrinkles, your thighs, like you were touching on some of my hot button points, it doesn't matter because the people who are experiencing you are not seeing you the way that you are with this critical eye. We were never meant to see our
Exactly.
wrinkles. We were only meant to see ours. Think about it. If we didn't have modern technology, you would only see yourself in the reflection of water, which is rarely still, isn't
Mhm.
super clear. You would never see the nuances. I've had a 20x magnifying mirror that I'm looking at my wrinkles in to put my eye makeup
Yeah.
on, for
Why do we
God's
do
sakes.
that?
What are we doing?
What are we
Killing
doing?
ourselves with this lack of experience that we really are. But I think once you can embrace and understand that you're this experience and all these critical things that you see about yourself, nobody else is seeing.
Mm-mm.
I'm speaking to
No, and
myself when I'm saying
oh
all
my
this, by
gosh,
the
it's
way.
so true, and that's true for so many people. I remember after I had this NDE, once I was feeling better, I went to a Mary Kay party, and
Oh my gosh,
I
I used to
kid
love
you
those.
not, every one of the women was sitting around the table going, "Oh, I hate my
Of
ring, I
course.
hate my
Of
nose,
course.
I hate." It was body hate, and it got to the point where it's becoming very uncomfortable, and I remember just kind of zoning out of that for just a moment. Was not trying to judge it, I was just trying to disconnect from that, and then I looked into my mirror and I was like, "Wow, this is so cool. Look at my body. Look at this body. It's a miracle. I am so grateful to be alive." And I had one of the most profound epiphanies of gratitude for just being here in this dimension. Look, I have a body. I get to interface here still for a moment longer with friends and family.
Was that experience before or after your
It
near
was
death
after. It
experience? It was
was right
after.
after I'd had my
Yeah.
out of body little recognition experience. So, and
Funny
when
how
I
dying
take
and coming back makes you actually appreciate that body.
oh, it does for sure, doesn't it? Like you're just so grateful to still be here. I'm grateful that I have another year on the planet. I don't care if I have wrinkles. That just shows that I've had more experience than, and when I take my clients through the process that I'm going to take your viewers through, where we go into our bodies and we really connect with our higher selves, I'll say, describe it for me. What do you see? What do you experience? What do you feel? Most people will give me adjectives like, oh, it feels like light. It feels like love. It feels like comfort. It feels like peace. It feels like, I don't know. Everybody gives different adjectives, but then I'll say to them, you just described what it feels like to be in your own presence. You
Mhm.
just described you. You just described the gifts and and what you bring to this world. When someone is in your presence, that's what you give. More
Love
light,
that.
more love, more. Some people see themselves as very happy and bubbly and um, kind and service oriented and full of gratitude, whatever it is, whatever the way they describe the experience that they have when they connect with themselves, that's you. That's you. You're not this vessel. This is just an interface. It's like a glove. You are allowed to be in this interface so that you can be here in this dimension and experience others.
Yes. All right. I want to talk about your hyper awareness that you had in your near death experience. I know that words fail in these
Yeah.
experiences,
They
but
do.
hyper awareness sounds pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
Can you describe in whatever way you can the things that you were noticing with this hyper awareness and how that's different from the everyday life that most of us are going through and experiencing?
Oh, that's such a great question. And because I think everyone can have this. I really
Okay,
do.
even
Yeah.
better.
Yes. Yes. And it comes when you learn to tap into you. That hyper awareness, those spiritual senses that we've all kind of lost touch with because we've been conditioned in this world to identify with this. And that's not the sum total of you. It's part of you. So yeah, the hyper awareness, I don't listen to very many near death experiences, so I don't really know how everybody else has experienced it, but I have heard a few where people go and they they experience other beings, or they're taught, or they're educated, or they're told things, or they're brought up to speed on things that they didn't know before. That didn't really happen to me until after, when I came home from the hospital and I was really, really just focusing on trying to heal my body. And thank God I hired this gentleman who took me by the hand and pulled me out of a big black hole, and really helped me to come back to myself. And the miracle of that was that he taught me how to step back into that hyper awareness by going deep inside instead of by popping out of my body. And so my hyper awareness really kind of unfolded in the weeks to come, the weeks and months and even years to come. It's almost like there was a part of me that got cracked open a little bit, and it never really went back to being shut down anymore. It it just opened up a new learning curve for me. It gave me access to parts of myself that I didn't know I had access to before. And
So
so
when
the
you mean hyper awareness,
Mhm.
is it like taking an emotion and amplifying it, or is it taking an experience and amplifying it? Can you help us
Yes.
understand?
Yes. So I feel like my gifts and my talents that I personally brought here that were unique to me, those things really opened up my awareness of those things, and my ability to learn how to use those gifts and talents really opened up at that point. I had to develop it. I had to keep going and continue to do it. Wasn't just like, hey, somebody flipped on this switch and now I'm a psychic, right? Like, I still had to develop that by leaning in more, but for me, the hyper awareness, yes, was I became hyper aware of not only my emotions and feelings and energies that were unraveling in my own self, but I also noticed that I could sense them in other people. And something else that happened to me too was, as I started doing this work of helping people tap into their higher selves, I noticed, oh, I already see that in you. How come you didn't see that in you? So I've noticed too that the veil for me, the mortal veil, became very thin. So I could look at people, I could look you in the eye, Lori, and I could just see all this light and truth and gifts and talents and your higher self. I could see your higher self by looking past the physical crust of the body, because that crust isn't you. You're so much more. You're so much greater. We're so much bigger, more powerful, um, more empowered. I'm trying to find the right word, but I can't find it. But we're greater than we've been led to believe that we are. We've been led on this earth to believe that we're like these small little insignificant beings that needs to puff up our ego somehow by becoming enough, by making more money or doing more stuff. And the truth is, you don't need any of that stuff to
I
connect to
agree.
your higher
Completely
self.
agree with that.
Yeah. And the other epiphany too is that your higher self is infinite and eternal being. So if you describe infinity and eternity, it is without end and without beginning. Nothing can be taken from it. It cannot die and it can't lose anything because you are everything. When you step into the oneness, you become everything. So that even includes your companions, people that you care about, the experiences that you're desiring to attract to you. You literally are all of those things. So when you start identifying with that more than you're identifying with this and this, there's no threat. What could possibly threaten an infinite eternal being?
That's a
Nothing.
great point.
And if nothing can threaten you as an infinite eternal being, what do you have to worry about?
I love that you describe that as you become everything. When I was on the other side, I had an experience of eternity, and eternity wasn't a time constraint, it was a state of being.
It is. It is. It's a state of awareness. And it doesn't take a near death experience to just change where you put your awareness. It matters where you put awareness.
I love that you said that too, because I think people don't often think about these things. So, you also described this wonderful, beautiful place. So, will you elaborate a little bit more on the feelings of that?
Yeah. It wasn't even a place. It was it was it was my beingness. I was fully in, fully connected, fully engaged, fully aware of my being. So that was the place that I went because I'm no longer distracted by a physical body that's breaking down and in pain all the time. I'm not distracted by that. I'm not distracted by a mental chatter or beliefs or any of that stuff anymore. So there's no threats to me. And now I'm just aware of my beingness. So for me, it wasn't really an actual geographical place that I went. It was more of a clarity that I woke up to because there's no more distraction anymore. The body's not there to get in your way. Does that make
So,
sense?
yeah, it does. And since we're talking about experiences, you also said you experienced being the blade of grass. You
Mhm.
experienced being the cloud. You experienced being the tree.
I did. And even
How is
God,
that
and even
experience?
God.
What's that say, the
So,
last part?
and even God.
Oh,
So wherever you put, in fact, you've probably heard this before, but energy flows where thought goes. So wherever you put your attention and your thought, that's where your energy or your consciousness is going to flow right into that. So I would think about a blade of grass. Well, guess what? Now I am this blade of grass. I'm experiencing the intelligence and the experience that that blade of grass is having.
so what kind
And
of an intelligence does a blade of grass have? And is it only that way on the other side? Or were you saying that you're in that park and you've risen above and you're seeing the blades of grass that are actually surrounding you that are on earth? Because I've heard people talk about delineations of experiences in heaven and earth and the
yeah,
intelligence of grass on the other side.
I was experiencing it from this side, from this earth. So I would put my attention onto a blade of grass and then boom, zoom. Now my awareness is in there and I'm experiencing the world as if I am this grass. And what it was like, there's no ego, there's no thinking, there's no busyness in the mind. It's just presence, it's oneness, it's love, it's light, it's truth. It's everything that we think we want. We
Which is
already
the
are.
description of source.
That is source. Mhm,
Did
mhm.
you have anything that felt different when you experienced the trees?
Well, yeah, yes, absolutely. Everything has its own signature for sure. Every individual blade of grass has its own signature. So, I tell people this when I take you into your body and help you to connect with your higher self. people recognize, whoa, I'm really expansive. And so I'll say, where does your light end and God's light begin? And they're like, it's just all light. It's just the light. I am just the light. But then some people go, well, wait a minute. Now I don't have an identity if I'm just the light. And I say to them, yes, you do. Every blade of grass, every grain of sand, every cloud in the sky has its own unique signature. So you as a being, no one else can shine the light the way that you do. No one else can. Just like that one individual blade of grass, nothing else can be that blade of grass the way that blade of grass can be. And you are no different than that. God's light is definitely shining through all of us, but that doesn't take away your unique, that you are a unique divine expression of that light. You are an expression of God.
So how does this knowledge, so your mind is opened up, you now have these hyper experiences, you become one with everything, with consciousness, you feel this love and vibration and all of these feelings. And now you have to come back into the human experience, which you agreed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does your life become different immediately following that experience?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, it was hard to come back into the body. It felt so heavy and so dense and so like putting on mud boots and trying to run through mud that's up to your knees. Like it felt like that. Whereas before, you're not encumbered by a physical body that's full of density. So that was hard. How it changed me though, and I said this to 100 people, and they would just look at me with this glazed over look like they weren't getting it. And I just wanted to shake people and go, no, this is so true. But I said, I feel like I've come back from that experience with a whole new set of glasses on. Like I'm looking at the world from a completely different awareness and understanding. I saw my kids in a different way. I saw them from their higher selves. I saw the world with a lot more luminosity, I guess. I don't know, more light.
Your word.
Yeah. So I'd go on walks and I would just stand there in the silence next to a tree and feel its energy and just notice that it is a being that is expressing the light, kind of similar to the way I'm expressing the light, but it's having its own experience. I'm having my experience. The intelligence is the same, but the signatures are all unique. No one can shine the way that you shine into the universe and express the light the way that you do. No one.
I think that gives people a taste of what the power of their soul is. And I want to use what you just said to transition into the experience you had with your mother.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I have a hard time talking about this without getting very weepy and tearful.
I'll go grab a Kleenex because we're going.
I do have some. My mother grew up in Canada. She had a lot of self-esteem issues. She was very much associating, identifying with her physical body. So when she died at age 80, she looked very different than she looked at age 9, right? Our bodies change and they age. And if we think that we are our bodies, that's going to be very concerning to us. So about, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 months after she passed away in 2017, she came to me. This is after my near-death experience. She came to me in a vision. It was a waking vision. And she stood at the foot of my bed, and it was just a short glimpse. So I saw her just like that. But in that short in-out experience, a lot of things happened and transpired. It's so crazy how this happens. But in that vision, it's like she was 10 feet tall. She was glorious, luminous, like a glorified being. I don't know how else to describe it, but if you're religious at all and you read the Bible, you hear about the glory of God's intelligence. That's what I saw in her. It was the most beautiful living female being I think I've ever laid eyes on. So beautiful that I almost could cry just thinking about how beautiful she was. And she didn't say anything. She just stood there and she went, "Look, look," like as if to say, "This is me. Can you believe it?" And so I asked the question whether or not she had ever had an encounter or a glimpse, or whether or not she had any kind of knowing that she was that in this earth life. And the answer was no. And I walked away from that experience going, that is a tragedy that any human can come here in this blindness, because we are blind to some degree, and be that veiled that they cannot grasp their own divinity. And so it was that was a pivotal turning point for me in my business of coaching and mentoring and spiritual healing, that I decided, I'm going to devote every last ounce of my effort and energy to helping people recognize who they actually are as that light, that glorified the divine self is so amazing. And to lay eyes on it, or just even have an awareness of what it feels like to be you in that way, is bliss. Just even have an awareness of what it feels like to be you in that way is bliss.
So you said she was the most beautiful female image that you would ever witness in your entire life. And we also talked before you started that about how you age differently. You're 9, you're 80. Did she look like one of those ages along that spectrum of 9 to 80? What did she look like to you?
And again, so I don't know how much of this is absolute truth. I just know what she showed me. So what she showed me and what I perceived as from my own filter was she looked to be about 10 feet tall. She was standing, dressed, clothed in beautiful, shimmery white, almost white see-through. It was like less than paper, but it was made of its own intelligence. Like this dress, this gown that she was wearing, her face was lit up just like, and there's no words. Like I try to describe it, but I can't. There's no words that could describe, but she was luminous, radiant, beautiful. The light that was coming through out of her eyes. And I thought to myself, how do I know this is even my mother? But I know that this is my mother. She doesn't look like my mother, but how do I know that that's her? I had this knowing that that was her. I saw it in her eyes and I felt it from her soul. Do you know how when you give birth to someone, even if it's a newborn baby, you can sit next to that baby on the couch and feel their presence and their essence. Even if your eyes are closed, even if you don't even know that they're there, you know that they're there.
I think you can do that even with your animals.
Yes, you absolutely can do that. Tapping into the essence. And so
You just
that's what
know.
the
You just
experience
know.
was.
Yeah.
I just knew that's my mother, even though she doesn't look like what her body looked like here. Um, God, it, it was just a stunning experience.
I've never talked about this on the show before, but I'm going to share something that touched me very, very deeply with a book that I read. My second favorite book, I go back and forth between three magic words in this one, is a book I read, I don't know, probably 15 years ago now. I've given it away a lot of times, and it's called The Afterlife of Billy Fingers, How My Bad Boy Brother Proved to Me There Was Life After Death.
Mm.
In this book, this woman has a brother who is just homeless. He gets into all kinds of trouble and he dies. And she's not surprised. He gets hit by a car, dies. And she's already kind of psychic connected to the other side. And he begins talking to her from the other side. And there's this one part in the book where he was like, I have to tell you about our souls.
Yeah.
Our souls are so magnificent and so beautiful. We can't see our souls and we can't know what our souls look like when we're here. Because if you walked into the convenience store and saw the soul of the cashier behind the counter,
Mm.
you would never be able to leave the store. You wouldn't be able to do anything. You'd be frozen by the beauty of that soul.
Mm.
Now, magnify that by 100-fold for a soul that you actually loved.
Yeah. Oh,
And that's always, always stayed with me. And so I've understood for a long time the beauty and the power of our souls. I created a podcast that was just an online audio podcast called Powerful Soul. And I've continued that on through this show, through this channel, through videos I've created to help people wake up. And my message is always the same. You are a beautiful, powerful soul. And Janet, you and I are doing the same work, trying to wake
yes.
people up to remember the beauty of their soul. And I love this conversation on a
Yes.
level I cannot even explain to you because your experiences confirm mine and my experience
Yes.
confirm yours and everybody watching.
And do you know why we're doing this work?
I know what I was shown, but tell me what your version of it is.
Well, my version of it is that every human soul deserves to know how amazing they are, how divine they are, how awesome they are. Like you said, I think that if every human could step away from their body just for long enough to see inside, to see what you are as a divine being, offspring of a creator that created you that way, we would bow at our own feet.
We would.
Mhm.
We would. And for those of us who have been on the other side and who have experienced our higher selves, you don't have words for it. It's a magnificence that you can't understand. But the sad part about it is we don't have anything on earth that is even close to as magnificent of that as that soul experiences. So it's very hard to keep it and hold it because there's no comparison for it.
Yeah. Yeah. There is no there's we don't know how to compare it to anything. It's
So I think people
indescribable.
who are listening, if you've heard anything today, if you take anything away from this video, please, please, please take away that you are beautifully magnificent.
Mm. Yeah. Amen. But you
So you've had these quantum healing experiences. You
Mhm.
described the person who was your teacher, your kind of your guide. And we promised that we would come back and we would dive a little bit deeper and you would share with people exactly how they can go deep within their soul, within their body to kind of have this experience of amplification. So would you share that? Because, and also maybe a little bit about how you came to do this quantum healing and maybe what it is. People who are watching may not even
Yeah.
understand that.
Well, I came to do it because out of necessity. I was very sick. And when I came home from the hospital after having an NDE, I wasn't well. I was worse because I was my body, physical body was still I was out of touch with it. So yes, how I came to it, I did my research. I found someone that could mentor me. He taught me a lot of skills. Since then, I've sort of added some of my own to the flavor, and then I started mentoring and working with others, and so now that is something that I do on the side. But what he taught me, it's very simple, and it you don't need 2 hours of meditation in a dark room. In fact, the better at this you get, you can come back to this video and watch it over. I suggest you do over and over and over to practice every day. You just need about 5 minutes to learn how to do it, and then from there, you should be able to get into that state of connectedness within the time that it takes to breathe in and out. So here we go. I want you to become aware of your breath. We're going to do the short version because I know we're pressed for time, but you can still get it if you practice. Be aware of your breath. So breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Slow your exhale way, way down. I would love for your exhale to be a little bit longer than the inhale. When you breathe in, I want you to pretend that you're breathing in liquid light. And that liquid light it represents everything in your life that you need that maybe you didn't get when you were young or growing up or whatever. Everything that you need, you're breathing that in and want. Breathe it in, into your nose. Fill up your lungs, and on the exhale, drop your shoulders down and empty, empty, empty your body of everything that you don't need, which is tension. You don't need tension. That's not keeping you safe. So I want you to pay attention. When you breathe in, your liquid light, breathe it into your bones. Draw it into all of your bones. Breathe right into your bones. Big, deep breath. On the exhale, drop your shoulders down and just let go of all the gunk, all the heaviness, all the darkness, all the beliefs that weigh you down. Let go, let go. So the exhale is about letting go. The inhale is about breathing it in. So now can you breathe into your cells? You breathe deep into your bones. And you go deeper and come into your cells and let every single cell light up like a Christmas tree or like the sun. Now, when you breathe out, can you drop your awareness down, down, down through your center, down behind your face, through your throat, through your heart, through your gut? And can you just land gently on the pelvic floor at the base of your spine? Just gently land, almost like a grain of sand that is dropped into the ocean and it falls, 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 gently, gently lands on the ocean floor. Your pelvic floor, that's the ocean floor. Just drop down on the exhale. Breathe in into your bones. Breathe out, drop down. Drop your shoulders down. Breathe into your cells. Breathe out. Drop down again. I want you to see if you can let go of tension in your eyeballs. Let go of the tension in your face. Put your awareness at the base of your spine. And on the exhale, let go some more. See if you can relax the root of your tongue. Can you go into the swallowing muscles where the root of your tongue begins? Can you soften those muscles? Breathe in. Breathe out. Put your awareness at the base of the spine. Drop your shoulders down. Breathing light into your cells. Letting go, letting go, letting go. Can you let go of your abdomen? So you could take your thumb, press down on your upper stomach just gently, and remind all those muscles in the abdomen to just soften on the exhale. Bringing in liquid light. Exhaling out all the gunk. Anything that weighs you down. Anywhere you're storing tension in your body, that's gunk. So I want you to let it go on the exhale. Breathe it out. Let it go up or down or spread out. So now that you're at the base of the spine, put your attention in there. So the base of the spine is a portal. It's a connecting point to your higher self. It's where Kundalini masters believe this is where spirit and flesh meet. So where spirit and flesh meet, put your awareness there. Boom. Breathe in, breathe out, let go. This time as you let go, and you're going to have multiple breaths to do it, push your light out. Push, 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 push. Outside, in front of you, behind you, above you, below you. Do that now on the exhale. Keep your awareness at the base of the spine. This is the foundation of your soul. So put your awareness at the foundation of your soul, at the base of the spine. Breathe in the liquid light. Push it out. Push, 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 push. As if you are the sun. Okay? So I want you to pretend that you stepped into the sun and the sun stepped into you. And that light that's pushing out from your center core is you. Push it out, push it out, push it out. You're not really pushing light out. you're becoming more aware it's already there. It already is you. You already are the sun. So now, with your awareness at the base of the spine, breathe in, breathe out, soften anywhere there's tension in your body, even if it's in your legs, your feet, your hips, your thumb. Soften and expand. So the exhale is about expanding, dropping, softening. The inhale is about drinking deeply of more of that light and illuminating who you are. Breathe in, breathe out, expand out. Now, if I were to ask you questions, any of the viewers that are on here, I really want you to think about this. What did you feel like before you got into your body? What do you feel like now? Come up with adjectives. A lot of people will say, oh, feels like home, feels like peace, feels like love, it feels quiet. So I'm going to give you maybe 30 seconds to just go into the stillness and connect with you. If you see something in your mind's eye, awesome, write it down later. If you sense something, feel something, I want you to just notice, pay attention. The goal is to be perfectly relaxed, completely surrendered and open from your center. So drop to the base of the spine. Breathe in, breathe out, open up. Go deep into the stillness for 30 seconds. Okay. You should be connected to yourself. Now, I want to ask you this question before we leave. Oh, oh, well, that's a sweetheart right there. I'm going to ask you this question. Have you ever stopped to just be still long enough to wonder who's in here? You know, you perceive the world by looking outside of yourself and externally referencing, oh, that tree over there, that person right there. We're very we we're very, what's the word? External. We perceive externally. If you can train yourself to start perceiving from within and coming from within and wondering, who is the person that's looking through my eye holes and perceiving the world around me? Who's doing that looking? Who's doing the breathing? Who is the presence that's filling up this room as I'm sitting in my stillness with myself? Who is that? Who am I? Not your body, not your brain. You got to drop down to the foundation of your soul, get out of your head, and ask the question, who's in here?
So, Janet, I know that you've done this with a lot of people. I can tell. Will
Yeah.
you share with everybody what people tell you that they get out of this when they make this a practice and they don't just do it this one time and never come back to it again?
Oh my gosh, it's life-changing. I have seen, in a nutshell, I have seen it wipe terrible, life-threatening illnesses from people's bodies when they come back into remembrance and recognition of their own authenticity. Because every sickness in your body is just your body's way of saying, hey, you're not connected. And I would rather for you to connect in here rather than up here so that we can be one. And so that there's no sickness in there. Every time you go in there, it's almost like your higher self's leaning up against the wall saying, hey, hi, I'm love, I'm peace. Welcome home. That's what people say. It feels like home. So, yes, I've seen it erase illness, pain, struggle. I worked with a woman one time who came to me because she'd put her back out and she'd been suffering for days. And so I thought, well, okay, if we're going to do this work, we need to get you centered. So I took her through this 5-minute process of getting her centered. And I said, okay, now let's do the work. Where do you feel the pain in your body? And she's like, gone. I don't, it's gone. And it never came back. So it's a powerful practice to be connected to who you are. Many people in the healing arts say all disease is a disconnect from either God, which is light, truth, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it. It's a disconnect from that. It's a disconnect from yourself, your true self. It's a disconnect from others, and it's a disconnect from truth. If you have any one of those four things, it's going to show up in your body, in your bank account, and in your relationships. So you can't even imagine how life-changing it will be for you to do this on a daily basis and for as long as you possibly can.
I had an epiphany while you were going through this whole exercise. I'm leaving this part here in this video as part of the interview, but there was about a 10-minute segment when you started to when you ended. I'm going to make an individual video. I'm going to put
Mm,
a card up above so you guys
yeah,
can click on it here,
smart.
and it will be its own individual video. It will just be the 10 minutes. It won't be a bunch of explanation before. It won't be a bunch of explanation after, because I want people to have the ability to actually make this a daily practice, and they don't need to listen to all. I remember like Jane Fonda, like you'd memorize all the extra things she said. I just want the
Amazing.
workouts. So I'm gonna release that the day after I release this video, so people can look in the description for the connection to that, and I will pin it in the comment of this video, and then you guys can just
Smart.
if you actually click like on it, it will there's a section you can go back to in YouTube where you can see your own liked videos. That's how I use the like button to find things. I
Yeah.
mean, it's kudos to the people who are creating them, but that's not why I'm clicking it. I'm clicking
Yeah.
it so I selfishly can go back and find something. I do not like everything. I like the
Right.
things that I want to be able to go back and find again.
And I would recommend do it every day. Do this every day, multiple times a day. In the beginning, I used to set a timer on my phone about 3 or 4 times a day, go, oh, time to go back in. I've popped out. I'm up in my ego. And your ego is full of fear and full of chaos and full of stress and worry and anxiety. And you can't navigate in the ego. The ego will never navigate you authentically. But your higher self will always knows where you've come from and where you're going and how to get there. Your gifts and talents will show up. Your spiritual sensitivities will show up. And you don't have to die to have that experience. You go with deep inside to get it. And it's the same experience as if having an NDE.
Beautiful. I know a lot of
Mhm.
people are looking for that, but they don't want the death part, which I don't blame them.
Yeah, no, this will be your most watched video because
I
people are
hope
going to want to
so.
set
That would be
timers on everything.
incredible. I
I
love
hope
that
it
that happened.
Yeah, that would be great. Mhm.
So, Janet, I would imagine there are a lot of people watching right now who want to connect with you. So, please tell
Mm.
people about what you do and where they can find you.
Wow. I've shut down my website since well, just over the last couple of years. I've kind of stopped doing that. I don't charge for what I do because I feel like it's
What?
very
Wait a
spiritual
minute.
practice.
Shut the
Yeah.
front door.
Do you know why I did that? Um,
Mm.
for 2 years, I was told specifically by God, source, my higher self, whatever, I was told, take the price tag off of that and see what happens. And in the 2 years that I took the price tag off of what I was doing, you know the laws of the universe. Whatever you put out and give out into the world, it can't not come back to you. It's by law, it has to come back to you in some form. I just wasn't asking it to come back to me from my clients. I just know that when I give in that way, it always comes back to it. In fact, it always comes back to me almost tenfold. So that's why I don't charge money for what I do, but people will sometimes donate or something will happen. So I trust the laws of the universe. So that's what I do. I'll give you my email address. You can post it in the bottom
Okay.
description of
Yep.
the video and people can
Yep.
just connect with me that way. I do have a YouTube channel that's still up on
Okay.
YouTube called Great Life, Greater Impact. So
Okay.
you can go watch old videos on there if you want to. I'm not looking for a following or anything like that. I do what I do because I work for God. So This is a sacred practice.
Wow. You know, it's so funny. And not, I don't want to take away from anybody who does write a book, do a course that they charge money for. I think that people
No.
are allowed to do all
Mhm.
of that.
I
But
agree.
I will say in the comments, people are always talking about, oh, yeah, they're just telling their story because of what they want to get. And it's hard to say that to somebody who is not charging for what they're putting out into the world.
Well, if you understand the laws of the universe and how they work, we are now at the brink of stepping into a new earth and a new world. And in that new earth, there's not going to be a lot of conversation about what is mine. There's not going to be a lot of buying and selling. There will be people like you and me standing in our gifts and our talents, and all of your viewers. We all have it. We're going to stand in our gifts and our talents, and we're going to contribute to society, and it's all going to fall into place, and people will give and receive what is needed, and our needs will be met in a very different way, more spiritual way than ever before. It's not going to be, you owe me. It's not going to be that. We're moving
We are
out of that
sitting here
system.
recording this in September of 2025. I know you
Yeah.
do not have a crystal ball, but you are
No.
connected. When do you think this, and it's probably already happening because that's kind of what you're going to say, but when do you think this transition really gets underway?
Oh, I think this year is a big year.
I do too.
If any of you who have been following the eclipses, the eclipse portals and the signs and the wonders in the heavens, and what's happening, especially in September of 2025, there's a lot of things that are shifting and moving and changing, and there will be a split to some degree. Some people are going to go into a different realm, dimension, way of being. We'll all still be on this earth but having very, very different experiences. And so I would highly recommend that if you want to level up and advance up and go with that shift that's happening, it is happening. The earth is leveling up. So if you want to level up with it and not die away with what's decaying, um, fill yourself full of gratitude, connect with your higher self, be more compassionate and loving, don't take, but give. All of those principles that we learned when we were in kindergarten and when we read the Bible. And if you'll do those things and keep yourself in a higher vibrational state, not engaging in what the media is telling you to engage in, which is fear and division,
Yep.
don't engage in that stuff, because that will determine which trajectory you get put on. And so your free will matters. It matters what your internal state is. It matters where you put your attention. It matters whether or not you consume all that stuff that's being put out there to put you in a state of fear. Don't buy into it. I think the change is already happening. I think that we're going to see lots more really big shifts, exciting shifts through to the end of this year.
I think so too.
One last thing. See this picture right here? See the
Yes.
woman? See the spiritual beings through the veil
Yes.
and other realms. We are not alone. You don't have to traverse this life all alone, all by yourself. No one dies alone. Not one person will ever die alone, and no one lives alone. So I want you to remember that there's more help that's in the unseen realms than you can even imagine. So just take that to heart, because I do feel like we're living on a time in the earth where the path's going to get a little bumpy as we shift and make changes and make different choices and create a different world. It's going to get bumpy, and I think people will be like, what is happening? But it's okay. It's supposed to happen the way that it's happening.
I think that's a mic drop. Janet, this
Yeah.
has been such a, I'm ready to cry saying this because I can't tell you how much a conversation like this feeds my soul too.
Me
I
too.
do this for others. I do this to help wake up the collective, but truly I wind up getting so much more out of it than probably anybody else does. That's what I feel. I feel so grateful. Thank you.
We all do.
Thank
We
you
all
so
do.
much for wanting to come on and share your story. Thank you for taking the time to walk people through something that could be so meaningful and life-changing for them. And thank you for what you are doing to wake up the collective. It is so needed right now.
You're so welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Bye.
Next up, check out this playlist of other NDE interviews. Please like and subscribe. It really helps this channel to grow so I can bring you more content. Thank you for watching. I'm so glad you're here.